Mr. Transformers 96 here with another video, and I'm going to talk about some newly shown items from San Diego Comic-Con 2019. And specifically, I'm going to be talking about the Marvel figures shown from Hot Toys at San Diego Comic-Con. So I'm not going to be talking about every single Marvel figure that was shown at this moment. There are actually still figures to be shown. I know this because they did preview one of their teaser photos was for an Endgame Thor, which is not on display yet, and therefore we'll at least get him as well. But I am hoping that there's a couple new Marvel characters that they haven't shown as yet, but that they will in the upcoming days and on Thursday and Friday. But they did show some very cool ones tonight, and some of them officially taken, some of them just kind of taken by people setting up and things like that. And we have quite a few cool figures in this. I'll probably be doing a more extensive video as we get more official images, and I can talk about kind of all of the figures individually. But in this video, I just want to give you a brief overview of what I thought of a lot of the Marvel figures being shown, specifically MCU Marvel characters, because they've done surprisingly a lot of non-movie based Marvel figures at the event so far, which is very odd, but I mainly want to talk about the movie ones. So let's get started. I'll go into these characters kind of individually here. So starting off with Captain Marvel, they showed a new Captain Marvel figure of herself, as well as Yon Rogg, the villain of the film, which is very cool. This is the first time for us seeing this version of Captain Marvel. It is not the first time to see Yon Rogg. However, it's the first time to see him on display. He was actually photographed in the Hot Toys catalog, which came out earlier this year. And the big question with that figure was, will it have a head sculpt attached with it and not just the helmeted look? Because obviously Jude Law, great actor playing him, and definitely spent most of the movie without the helmet on, like 95% of the movie without the helmet on, so it was definitely necessary to get a Jude Law head sculpt. And at the event here, obviously it's confirmed that we will get a Jude Law head sculpt, which is quite nice. I'm not 100% sure how good the head sculpt actually is. I feel like a lot of the head sculpts being shown don't look great. It's not necessarily because of the sculpting, but they just have like a flat kind of paint look to them, and therefore I'm thinking it's mainly the lighting, considering we did get like an official image of Hulk's head sculpt, and it looks great. It looks so much better than the one that's on display. So I feel like it's mainly the harsh lighting that they have here at the convention, which is not doing anything flattering for these head sculpts. So This head sculpt looks okay in this lighting, and therefore I'm thinking that it's probably going to look pretty good when we get the official images. But I do like, of course, that we get a likeness to Jude Law. Now, the big question is, will he actually get made as a Marvel villain? His chances of being made are really hit or miss. They tend to make at least a figure of all the Marvel villains, mainly, but then they only release like half of them for pre-order. The only thing that kind of gives me hope is the fact that this is so far away from the movie's release that if they were starting to make it after the movie's already been released, then I would assume that they have intentions to sell it. But my only counter argument to that is the Vulture. They made the Vulture figure well over a year after that movie's release, and we still have yet to see that one hit pre-order. So who knows if we'll actually get this one. I would probably purchase it just as a big Marvel villains fan. I have all the Marvel villains, and he would be a great addition to that collection, and the figure does look quite nice, especially with the Jude Law head sculpt. Without that head sculpt, I don't know if I'd get it, but with the head sculpt, it's definitely exactly what you need, which is nice. I do hope that he comes with some extension pieces for the forearms, because he has that kind of static-like gravity manipulator kind of section that goes on the arms there, so I'm hoping that you'll be able to represent that with the figure as well. The Captain Marvel figure in her Kree uniform does look pretty nice. I think that the helmet on looks pretty good. There's not, a ton of likeness to Brie Larson. I mean, you can kind of see it, but just there's so much covered that it's mainly just a helmet. But overall, I think that the figure does look decent. Again, not 100% sure if we will actually see these on pre-order, just because the movie's been out for so long, and I don't see anybody like clamoring for either of these figures. Next up, let's talk about Iron Patriot. This is from Endgame. This is a very exciting one to see. Wasn't sure if they're going to be making this one, considering it's quite a large figure and there's just so many characters to make from Endgame, but they are making him. Overall, I think this looks like a great figure. Really nice. They really captured the bulk, and the colors look great as well. An extensive amount of weaponry, especially on his back, which I think looks very cool. I do like the fact that they're displaying him with Rocket, because obviously Rocket rides into battle on Iron Patriot's back, so it's nice to see a picture of the two of them together in this display, which is very cool. But overall, the figure looks great. Really has a great shine to it, especially in that helmet. Almost has like a chrome look in the helmet, which I think is very cool. The big question is, will it be die-cast? Because it's so big and chunky that if it's die-cast, it would just kind of be a ridiculous price, I would assume, and it would just be super heavy. So I wouldn't be shocked if this is a plastic piece. However, just ever since they started doing the die-cast figures, they really only do die-cast Iron Man figures. So I assume this will be a die-cast figure, but I would prefer it to be plastic. I think either way, I don't plan to get it, although I like the way it looks. It's just not something that I need personally, but I do. I think that it does look quite nice. Next up, we have Captain America from Endgame, however, in his Avengers 1 costume, obviously when he goes back in time. This is specifically an Endgame Captain America. It's not supposed to be Captain America from the Avengers in Endgame. You can tell, obviously, by his haircut. That's one of the big differences between the two versions of the Captain America in the movie. As far as the costume goes, it looks identical to the original Hot Toys one that came out back in 2012. I would dare to say that it's the exact same figure, but with a different head sculpt, to be honest. Because I own the original one, and looking at it, color-wise, especially if you're looking at the figure on the picture on the left, color-wise and the costume style and the way it's cut, it looks identical to the original figure. So I'm not sure if this is like a half reissue, half new pieces, or maybe it is a completely new actual suit. But it's so similar looking that I can't imagine that it's a new one. This looks cool. This is a figure that when I thought of them doing it, I thought, I might be tempted by it. However, seeing the final product, I honestly don't think there's much anything better than the one that came out, 7 years ago, and therefore not one that's going to tempt me, surprisingly. However, it's nice to have them release it for anybody who missed out on that other one, because it's a really good figure, and I am actually quite a fan of the costume. Next up, we have Mantis. This is one that I'm surprised that they're doing. I think it's it's one that nobody asked for, to be honest. I don't think anybody just is a huge fan of Mantis. She's fun. I enjoy her in the movies. I have no issue with her. It's just I don't know how many people are just dying for Mantis merchandise, especially when it's so costly as far as Hot Toys is concerned. But here we have it. The face sculpt looks pretty decent, I have to say. I think out of all the face sculpts, as far as on display, she looks decent, which is nice. Her costume looks good. Not a ton of poses that you can put her with. She's not very athletic in these movies. And then her face sculpt is very stone cold, which is okay for Mantis. A bit of a smirk or a bit of a confused look would actually be kind of neat, I think. But having the very stoic look is all right for Mantis, because she's, with the pupils so large, it's a little hard to see expression when she's just doing mundane tasks, and therefore she has kind of a stoic face like this in a lot of the scenes in the movie. So figure-wise, it looks great. I have no issues with it, to be honest. I don't know how many people will actually buy this. For me, definitely going to be an easy pass for me. I don't need Mantis in my collection. And then lastly, I want to talk about the Professor Hulk, or Smart Hulk, Endgame Hulk, whatever you want to call him. This is one that they did a preview for, and overall I think that he looks really nice. As far as the head sculpt on display, I don't think the head sculpt looks that good. I think it, obviously it looks okay, but for Hot Toys it doesn't look great. However, the picture at the bottom left was released by the sculptor of the head sculpt, and that just looks fantastic, to be honest. It looks perfect. So I do think that it has a lot to do with the lighting that they've lit this display as, and therefore it's just not very flattering to the figure, because again, that other picture looks just wonderful. But overall, I think that the figure looks pretty decent. Obviously, he's got his cloth suit. This is very much Hulk from the last scene, or the last act of Endgame, which is nice. The only thing that bugs me a bit is the only time that he wore the suit, he wore it when he originally tried on the gauntlet. So for this little shot where he's wearing the gauntlet, it works really nicely. But then for the rest of the movie, the whole fight at the end, he had just a burnt arm. It would be really cool if he comes with an interchangeable arm that's kind of burnt. I think that would be pretty awesome. But I don't expect that, of course. I will say, as far as the material of the suit, his right arm, which is raised a decent amount, has a massive crease on the shoulder. It looks really terrible. So who knows? Maybe you could kind of iron out the clothing a bit, not actually iron, but like, mold it a bit with your hand when you're posing them to make it look better than this. But overall, I think that is a horrible crease, and it does not look great. So just running back through it, we've got Hulk, Mantis, Avengers 1 Captain America from Endgame. That's confusing. The Iron Patriot, Captain Marvel in her Kree uniform, as well as Yon Rogg. So we've got a decent amount of cool new movie figures. Now, these aren't all of the movie figures that were shown. We have some other time travel suit characters from Endgame, which are very cool. And there's also just more Marvel characters in general that they've shown. As far as like game versions of Spider-Man, comic Venom, Deadpool, which I don't really understand. Or it's not. Yeah, it's Venom Deadpool, right? I believe it is. It's a weird one that I don't know why they're wasting their time with, to be honest. But overall, we've got some decent figures here. Very much looking forward to seeing all the new things that are shown, and I'll probably talk about some of these in better detail when we have really good, crisp images of all of them. So let me know what you guys think of these so far, and thanks so much for watching, as well as stay tuned for more San Diego Comic-Con exclusive coverage as far as the figures being shown. Thanks so much.